This is WBTV, West Bloomfield Schools Educational Access Channel, WBTV. Stand by for WBTV's presentation of the United We Walk 2009 celebration programs on WBTV.
It has become clear that the technique of mass, nonviolent direct action has not only become the accepted method of the civil rights movement, but beyond that, the vast majority of all Americans now support and approve it. What began as a limited expression of protest 10 years ago in Montgomery, Alabama, to integrate a bus line has grown into a national phenomenon. As history spiraled over a decade, the movement returned to Montgomery and involved in direct action nuns and priests, rabbis, Protestant ministers, and laity of every race, social class, and age. Many observers have been surprised and even shocked by these methods. The enemies of the civil rights movement have been quick and vocal to denounce them as undemocratic pressure tactics and even un-American in philosophy. Yet the truth is that no one can scorn nonviolent direct action or civil disobedience without canceling out American history. The first nonviolent direct action did not occur in Montgomery. Its roots go back to the American Revolution and the boycott against British tea, culminating in the Boston Tea Party. It was the favorite weapon of the suffragette movement when women had to fight for their right to vote. It was a technique the trade unions employed to organize the mass production industries. Many here tonight can recall the events of the 30s, when federal court injunctions crippled and stifled union organization. Even a Wagner Act could not facilitate a breakthrough. When the now historic sit-down strikes burst forth in 1937, a new national attitude congealed. Through the Congress of Industrial Organizations, a new major movement was born. Then, too, the nation was warned that the profit system was a target of this new form of struggle. Nearly 3 decades later, we're able to see that the profit system was not only unimpaired, but became significantly strengthened.
Portigo kid is how Eric gets a bigger card. Thank you.
Now let me proclaim here and now that I am still convinced that the philosophy and practice of nonviolence affords a more excellent way to improve the inadequacies existing in the American social system. The method of nonviolent resistance is effective in that it has a way of disarming the opponent. It exposes his moral defenses, it weakens his morale, and at the same time it works on his conscience. I believe we will win it because the goal of America is freedom. Abused and strong though we may be, our destiny is tied up with the destiny of America.
Hello, Randy.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Mr. Long. Hi. Are you trying to say no?
WBTV.
It's time to reorder our national priorities. All those who now speak of goodwill and who praise the work of such groups as the President's Commission now have the gravest responsibility to stand up and act for the social changes that are necessary to conquer racism in America. If we as a society fail, I fear that we will learn very shortly that racism is a sickness unto death.
No.
One day after finishing school, I was called to a little church down in Montgomery, Alabama. And I started preaching there. Things were going well in that church. It was a marvelous experience. But one day, a year later, a lady by the name of Rosa Parks decided that she wasn't going to take it any longer. She stayed on a bus seat. And you may not remember it because it's way back now, several years, but it was the beginning of a movement where 50,000 black men and women refused absolutely to ride the city buses, and we walked together for 381 days. That's what we got to learn in the North. dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Exalted. And every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring when we gather. When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and Gentiles, Protestants, and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Thank you very much, African American Awareness STEP team, for that spectacular performance. Would you all please rise for the singing of our national anthem by the West Bloomfield High School Laker Express.
Oh, say, can you see by broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Laker Express. You may be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Lasenby. My co-chairs, Ariel Flags and Taylor Gunn, would like to thank all of you for joining us in our walk along Orchard Lake Road. Welcome to the 15th Annual United We Walk Dr. Martin Luther King Day Jr. celebration. One of our fellow student co-chairs, Chanel Jeter, is currently in Washington, D.C. for the presidential inauguration, but we would like to thank her for her contributions to today. At this time, we welcome our adult co-chairs for their opening remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Henig, one of the adult co-chairs, and I would like to welcome you here this afternoon and thank you for coming out. I'll start with a quote from Ethics of the Fathers. "It is not your obligation to complete the task of perfecting the world, but neither are you free to desist from doing all you can." I'd like to take a moment now to recognize our predecessors who have participated in any way in the task of making our community a better place. Will those of you, past co-chairs, adult leaders, whoever, rise and be recognized? I'd also like to recognize the staff of the West Bloomfield School District, from the ACS all the way down to the elementary schools, who have given so much of their time to prepare for today. And the clergy who are here, who also support this endeavor. Let's hear it for everybody. Thank you all. A couple of quotes. "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And a little story. When Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel returned from the march in Selma, he said that he felt a sense of holiness walking arm in arm with Dr. King, saying that he felt that his legs were praying. So today, as we celebrate the 15th Annual United We Walk and the 10th occasion of the Candlelight Vigil, we will not have been silent, and indeed, we prayed with our legs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sheryl Mitchell, and it has been my honor and privilege to serve as one of the adult co-chairs for this year's celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. This year, we combined the walk, program, and vigil into a one-day event, and we are very pleased with the partnerships we have formed with local clergy, organizations, and communities to offer additional programs which are listed in your commemorative program booklet. None of this would have been possible without the support of our many volunteers. Would all of the volunteers who have played a role in providing today's program please stand so we can express our appreciation to you also. We would also like to acknowledge and thank our many sponsors whose generous donations made today's event possible. Their names are listed on the inside back cover of your program booklet. Special thanks goes to Dr. and Mrs. Woodruff and the Maple Family Dentist for sponsoring the balloons that you see decorating our event today, which were prepared by Lawrence Yaldo, a 2000 graduate of West Bloomfield High School, as well as Wesley Berry Flowers, who has provided the flowers for today and the special giveaway tomorrow on Monday. Today, we have come together as a community to celebrate and commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and to share a part of his famous quote. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a desert state, sweltering in the heat of injustice and oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. So be proud, West Bloomfield, because today, and hopefully every day henceforth, we are indeed a living testament to Dr. King's dream, because united we live.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Flaggs. 15 years ago, a small group of West Bloomfield residents gathered to plan the inaugural United We Walk celebration with a mission to celebrate Dr. King's birthday, educate our community regarding his accomplishments, and to appreciate our community's diversity. Dr. JoAnn Andrews was there. No one embodies the mission still today as she does. I proudly present the Superintendent of the West Bloomfield School District, Dr. JoAnn Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Flaggs. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. To honored guests and all the co-chairs, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, what a distinguished honor and privilege it is for me to have this opportunity to welcome you here this evening. I want to personally thank all the community co-chairs and all the various co-chairs and organizers who made today possible. Your spirited work brings us here tonight. You also are to be much admired for your dedication, your commitment for our celebration. Our Board of Education and elected officials are here with us tonight, and we want to thank all of you for your support of partnering with our community and township to celebrate this remarkable day. And I'd like for you, if you would, take this time to acknowledge all of our Board of Education members and elected officials who happen to be here. Let's give them a round of applause for joining us this evening. Thank you. Parents and guardians, I want to thank you so much for bringing your children. Knowing in your hearts that it is vital we continue to experience these milestone events as a large extended family, passing down fundamental traditions. You have made this a priority for yourselves, your family, and neighbors. And with such effort, you help us build our future. So we're also pleased to acknowledge all of you from surrounding communities who've come and joined us tonight. And lastly, but surely not least, it is a privilege to welcome to our community the Tuskegee Airmen as they will share their place in history with us a little bit later. But if you would, I wonder if you would just allow me to give you one thought from Martin Luther King's Nobel Peace Acceptance speech, which was in Oslo in 1964. They remind me of how we as a community have and continue to come together for the greater good, even in tough times, to create a place where we all, especially our children, can grow, love, and laugh and learn together. It reminds me of what will be possible, what kind of community and world we can create as we continue to devote ourselves to the service of others tomorrow and the many days thereafter. So this is what he said on that honored day. I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirit. I believe that what self-centered men have torn down, men other sinners can build up. I still believe we shall overcome, he said. This faith can give us the courage to face the uncertainties of the future. It will give our tired feet new strength as we continue our forward stride toward a city of freedom. When these days become dreary with low hovering clouds and our nights become darker than 1,000 midnights, we will know that we are living in the creative turmoil of a genuine civilization struggling to be born. It is an honor to stand here before you in this special place, in the footprints of special people, welcoming a most special community to this evening's event. God bless you, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Andrews. In the spirit of this year's theme, Living the Dream, the United Walk Committee felt compelled to recognize individuals who have made an outstanding contribution in our own community. This year, we are initiating a new Community Leader Recognition Award. Each year, we will recognize an individual whose efforts have helped build Dr. King's dream in our own community. This year's recipient is an individual who was instrumental in the creation of the very first United We Walk event 15 years ago. Beyond this, she strives to live the dream through her community leadership, personal interactions, and commitment to educational equity and access. It is our pleasure to announce our own district superintendent as the winner of the 2009 Community Leader Award. Your name is the first to be added to this plaque that reads, United We Walk, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in recognition of your efforts to build the dream in our community.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all who made this possible. Thank you very, very much.
In an effort to further involve the community in our United We Walk celebration, we invited middle school and high school students to compete in our student oratory contest. We would like to thank every student who participated. Our 3 winners are David Kakos from West Bloomfield High School, Sierra Jones from Orchard Lake Middle School, and Evan Grossman-Limpert from Abbott Middle School. Please welcome Sierra Jones to the stage to deliver her message.
United we live. Wouldn't it be awesome to live in a world where everyone was accepted for who they are? Wouldn't it be profound if we could accept each other's differences? I mean differences not only in color, language, and religion, but differences in thought. I believe that in that world, all people would be respected and feel good about not only themselves, but everyone. I truly believe that in order for us to live united, we must take the time to get to know one another. Currently, it seems like it's human nature to judge others we meet based on some preconceived notions. We all do it. We judge people that we just meet, strangers, like a new student at school or a guest speaker. We already have in our mind what this person is going to be like, and we either like them or don't like them. What we forget about these strangers that we are making judgments about is that in so many ways, they are just like us. Maya Angelou states, "We are more alike than we are unalike." Every single one of us has eyes, ears, a mouth, a heart, but better yet, a story. We choose not to like or trust someone based on what we see and perceive, but rarely take the time to truly get to know them and listen to their story. If we took the time to listen to each other's story, I believe that our preconceived judgments may be proved wrong. Recently at my school, we had Challenge Day. During Challenge Day, they asked us to drop the waterline, which means to let people see who we really are, what we keep hidden inside because we fear that others won't accept us. You see, they made it clear that most of us walk around not truly sharing ourselves. We show a fake outer shell, which allows others to make judgments. So I believe to truly live united, we must all drop the waterline. So if you really knew me, you would know that I see myself as truly unique. I'm not like any other African American in the world, so do not judge me based on things you have seen on music videos or television, because that's far from me. If you really knew me, you would know that I'm an all-A student and I aspire to headline on Broadway. If you really knew me, you would know that I was Miss Michigan preteen last year and did lots of charity events. I enjoy traveling to different states, representing Michigan. If you really knew me, you would know that I spend lots of my time organizing my thoughts and work because it's very important to me to reach my goals. Did you know that just from looking at me? Does this change any of your ideas about me or others like me? Wouldn't it be awesome to live in a world where everyone is accepted for who they are? Wouldn't it be profound if we could accept each other's differences? I mean differences not only in color, language, and religion, but differences in thought. I believe that in that world, all people would be respected and feel good about not only themselves, but everyone. I truly believe that in order for us to live united, we must take the time to get to know one another. We must challenge ourselves to drop the waterline and not only tell, but listen to each other's stories. And only then can we truly live united. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra, for your inspirational speech on living the dream. At this time, we would like to invite all participating elementary school choir students to join the High School Laker Express on stage to sing the Dr. King song.
Everybody to join hands together.
As the students return to their seats, please join me in thanking them for a job well done. Talking. At this time, I would like to introduce the high school oratory winner, David Kakos. Mr. Kakos will now perform his poem, The Changing Times. Following Mr. Kakos, the West Bloomfield High School Men's Choir will salute the Tuskegee Airmen with a rendition of Who Are the Brave.
The Changing Times. How long has it been since those days of old where equality was just a thought that was told? Dreaming was thought to be a waste of time, but dreams do come true, as you'll hear in this rhyme. For what is color but the pigment in your skin? The earth, the mere prism for which we shine in. The moon, a reflection of our brothers long gone, hand in hand as we struggle to march on. I stand up here proud, knowing where we have been, and I know Dr. King's face is draped with a grin. Discrimination is now a thing of the past, and I know Dr. King's dream is realized at last. Through the hardships of inequality and standing together, we fight this great battle because we know better. Racism and segregation have finally come to an end. Our new president shall push us to glory and defend. At first glance, you wouldn't think our country is great, but America's beauty comes not in a small package, but a crate. United, we finally live in America today. But don't let our past leaders' lessons ever fade away. United, we are seeing our struggles come to an end. The laws of our past have been through more than just a bend. Let's take a moment and appreciate America for what it is today. I have a dream became more than words. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. God bless America.
Those who fight no more, those who gave their lives, protecting freedom's shore, who are the brave, those who serve and war. Those with healthy bodies, those protecting the unshorn, who are afraid, those who serve those whose speech is free, who are the brave, those loving liberty, all those with hearts and minds, protecting all they find, who are the brave, those who serve mankind, those who serve mankind. These are the brave.
Thank you, Mr. Keikos, for that beautiful poem. And thank you to the West Bloomfield High School Men's Choir for your powerful song. Now I would like to introduce United We Walk co-chair Brian Flax to the stage.
Hello again. Please join me in viewing a brief introduction by someone I think most of you may recognize.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Colin Powell.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, leaders and members of Congress, ladies and gentlemen, my Tuskegee Airmen brothers, I stand so proudly before you today. But I know to the depth of my heart that the only reason I'm able to stand proudly before you today is you stood proudly for America 60 years ago. I benefited from what you and so many others did. There's a long and rich history. At the same time that the Tuskegee Airmen were making their mark, there was another group called the Golden 13. The first 13 officers that were allowed into the United States Navy in the 1940s. There was another group called the Montfort Point Marines. The Montfort Point Marines in the early 1940s was the first time the United States Marine Corps let black men into the Corps. And both they and the Golden 13 did splendidly, just as the Tuskegee Airmen did splendidly. It is a rich history. And throughout the Great War in which you fought, you saw the 92nd and 93rd Division, you saw the Triple Nickel 555 Parachute Infantry Regiment, you saw the 761st Tank Battalion, you saw black women who came in to serve for their nation as well. It is a history that goes back 300 years before our Revolutionary War, when blacks served in the Massachusetts militia. It is history that includes 1/6 of George Washington's army being black. It is a history that takes us through all of America's wars. When Teddy Roosevelt went up San Juan Hill, there were black troopers with him, but you never see them in any of the portraits of Teddy Roosevelt going up San Juan Hill. It was a civil war where 300,000 blacks served and tens of thousands of blacks died. And the question is begged, why? Why would we do this for all of these years? Why would we serve a nation that would not serve us? Why would we serve a nation, and when that service was no longer needed because the conflict was over, we went back to the same conditions of oppression and servitude? Why? Two answers, I think. One, notwithstanding what they had put in the Constitution about us being property, we still believed in the vision that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution set forth for the kind of America that could be in this new land. We believed in that. We had to believe in it. What else would we have to believe in? And the other reason, I think, is that military service, laying down your life for your country, was about the only way in which, for so many years, blacks could demonstrate that they were equal to any white citizen. In the Civil War, there was a Confederate general by the name of Howell Cobb, and he heard that Jefferson Davis was going to recruit black soldiers for the Confederacy, and he wrote him a letter saying, "Don't do it. Use the Negroes for whatever purpose you can find, digging and chopping wood and cooking. But don't arm them. Don't make them soldiers, because if a black man could stand alongside a white man as a soldier, then the whole theory of slavery is gone and the revolution is lost." He was right. As Frederick Douglass said, once a black man has put on a uniform, once he has brass US on his epaulets, once he carries a weapon, and once he shows that his blood is as red and his courage is as great as any white man, then surely full citizenship will be his in due course. It took many years. It took lots of sacrifice. But above all, it took performance. It took people like you, who, despite all of the discrimination and oppression you faced, you never lost sight of the goal. And the goal was to make sure that you performed for the nation. And you served, and you sacrificed, and in the years since, you have continued to serve by passing on to the next generation what you did for them. You and all the others in the course of our nation's history who have served likewise are deserving of our highest tribute. I thank you for what you have done for African Americans, but more importantly, I thank you for what you have done for America. You caused America to look into the mirror of its soul. You showed America that there is nothing a black person couldn't do. There is nothing a human being cannot do if given a sense of purpose, if given the opportunity, if given the training, the skills, and if you believe in them. So my Tuskegee brothers and sisters, as somebody who has benefited from your service and sacrifice, I thank you as you receive this most worthy symbol of your courage and your sacrifice, the Congressional Gold Medal. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Boys and girls, please rise and salute true American heroes, the Tuskegee Airmen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're honored to be here this evening. We thank West Bloomfield for inviting us to be a part of this program. And our first speaker this evening will be Miss Modestine Bell. Miss Modestine Bell's sister was the first Black Air Force nurse. She's here to representing her sister, even though her sister has gone on. God bless her. We thank her for her service. At this time, I give to you Modestine Bell.
Thank you, sir. My sister, Naomi Bell, as he mentioned, was the first Black nurse officially inducted into the Air Force. She studied nursing school at the University of Georgia, and she graduated in 1945. 2 weeks later, she was officially inducted into the Air Force down at Tuskegee, a journey that she truly, truly loved and talked about all of her life. While there, she became the sweetheart of the base, and she also taught gentlemen who served as corpsmen in the hospital, that is, those chaps who emptied the waste pans. They came to her and said, you know, we would like to learn more about what to do in a hospital rather than this job. So she taught them how to take blood pressures and temperatures, and later in the year, they were sent overseas where they did a tremendous job of relieving the nurses in that area. When she served for 10 years, and after getting out, she was so inspired by her experiences. She said she never met so many intelligent people in her life, and she wanted to write about it. So she enrolled in university at Wayne State, and while there, she was very impressed that the teachers there wanted her to ask them to co-author with whatever she decided to write. And that was really very thrilling to her, because these chaps had their PhDs in writing, and she knew really literally nothing about it. So after she got out and started writing, she fell ill with breast cancer, and she lived for about 2.5 years thereafter. But she always talked about it as being the most important experience in her entire life. So when we were deciding as to whom we should go to be pallbearers, there was not anyone that could compete with the Tuskegee Airmen, because she truly loved them all. And that was the first time they served in that capacity, and that is what they still do today whenever one of them passes away. So she has inspired many people to go into nursing, and to those of you who have not decided on a career, I would certainly like to recommend it, because it is a marvelous career to have. Thank you very kindly.
Our next speaker will be Lieutenant Colonel Washington Ross, a member of the 332nd Fighter Group.
I would like to tell you a little bit about my family before I tell you about my duty in it was Army Air Corps when we went in, not the Air Force. I'm the fourth son in a family of 5 boys and 1 girl. My other brothers have passed on, and just my sister and I are living. All of us were overseas at the same time, and all of us came back without a scratch. I'm very fortunate because I've lived long enough to see the changes that have come about. The first big change, of course, was the desegregation of the armed forces. And subsequently, integration in various states that did not have integration. By the way, I was born in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. My father used to say, that's a good state to be from, better state to stay away from. But things have changed. I was just down there about 2 years ago to speak at one of the white universities down there, and they rolled out the red carpet for me. I went overseas in 1944 and joined the 302nd Fighter Squadron in the 332nd Fighter Group. I flew 63 missions, and I'm here to talk about them when we have our other sessions if you want to hear about them. I stayed in the reserves, and I retired from the reserves in 1981 with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Speaking of changes, and I tell my children, it's not going to be a revolution, it's going to be an evolution. And as I said, I've been fortunate to see this happen. In 1942, the attitude in the whole United States was that blacks could not learn how to fly. And it was not only whites thought that, some blacks didn't believe it either. Well, the 332nd made a lie out of that. And as I went to Hampton Institute, it's Hampton University now, maybe some of you have heard of it, it's in Hampton, Virginia. And they had a program called the Civilian Pilot Training, because we weren't at war prior to Pearl Harbor, and they wanted to train pilots, but they couldn't do it because I guess you had to go through Congress and whatnot. So they came up with the bright idea of training pilots in colleges and universities. Hampton had this program, and I went through the program. About 50 of us went through. 2 young ladies went through, and I'm talking about 1940. All those that went through and went into the Air Corps, none of them marched out, as far as I know. Now, the greatest thing that I'm fortunate to be around to see will be happening Tuesday. Now, I don't think anyone believed this would ever happen, but it's happening. And this is further testament that things are changing. And I hope the country is behind Obama and help make changes in the United States, because we certainly need it. Thank you.
Well, we didn't want the Navy to feel left out, so we brought a seaman along with us today. So at this time, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Burton Lowe, Seaman, U.S. States Navy.
I've been sitting up here listening to Colin Powell, and a lot of things ran through my mind. Because when I was 17 years old, I joined the Naval Reserve in 1947. And I didn't realize that the Navy was still segregated, because Harry Truman didn't sign the executive order until 1948, which started integration. And I begged my mother to let me join the reserves. And she said, no, you can't go. And I insisted. She said, well, mister, if you join, you're not going to quit. I was still in high school, and I used to be out, she signed, and I used to be out in the playground playing every Thursday night. Come on, let's go. And eventually I ended up in the Navy in the Korean War. And I was sitting here thinking about the march of Martin Luther King. But a lot of you don't realize I heard that speech long before he said it in Washington, D.C., because I marched with Martin Luther King here in Detroit when 250,000 people marched with him. That was a preamble to his speech. He gave it at Cobo Hall, that I Have a Dream speech, but he dressed it up after that. The reason I joined the Tuskegee Airmen is because my grandson wanted to be a pilot. And he soloed when he was 15 years old. And he ended up at North Dakota University. And before he got to North Dakota, his mom moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And wherever she went, she would always tie him up with somebody that was related to aviation. And in this case, she ran into Lieutenant Colonel Charles A. Train Dryden. How many of you have seen the movie, The Tuskegee Airmen? Well, if you have, you remember the character that Cuba Gooding Jr. played, A-Train? He got killed in the movie, but Hollywood messed it up because he didn't die. He was my grandson's mentor, and we just buried him in Arlington Cemetery last year. Now, when he was on CNN with Miles O'Brien, he made a statement that the Tuskegee Airmen were the trailblazers. That's how I consider Mr. Washington Ross. He's one of the original Tuskegee Airmen. All of us after that become what we call torchbearers. My grandson is a Tuskegee Airman. He's 22 years old. He's flying commercial flights. I'm almost 90, 80 really, and I'm also a torchbearer. That's how I ended up with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well, I guess I get to introduce myself. My name is Frank Gregory. I spent 29 years in the military. I've been in 3 wars, Vietnam, Iraq, and Kosovo. Since 2 of us here have been in 2 of those wars, I decided to take Vietnam. What was it like in Vietnam? Very rough. High unemployment, so most of the blacks were going to the military to escape the unemployment. Today, things have changed, but still have a long ways to go, even in the flight schools. We still have a lot of problems in the military flight schools today because a lot of people are not willing to change. It's going to take each and every one of us to change and change the system we're in. Together, we're united, we stand. Divided, we fall. I thank you, and I will introduce the next speaker who was in Iraq. He was an air crewman on C-141s and also tankers. Master Sergeant Alfonso King, U.S. Air Force, retired.
Good afternoon. Oh, excuse me, it's good evening almost. Are we getting there? Yeah, we're getting close to that. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Frank talked about us being in 3 wars. You know, that's a lot of wars between us. Vietnam, for me, Desert Storm in Iraq. A lot to be said about that war with Desert Storm because with Vietnam, we didn't come back to a hero's welcome. We were spit upon. They didn't like us. They didn't care for us. They didn't treat us the way we should have been treated when we came back from Vietnam. The VA system was messed up, and these people are still messed up till this day with problems that should have been resolved almost 40 years ago. Desert Storm came along. It changed. The government didn't run the war. They let the generals do what they were taught to do, run the war. It's the shortest war in history, 100-hour war, they call it. Fewest casualties with the amount of participants in this war on each side. For the Americans, was less than 300 being wounded or killed during that time frame. And that's unimaginable as we look back at the other wars that we've been in. We all think about it, we look at it, we try to put it in perspective along how it went along at that time. I flew quite a bit. My job at that time was I was an aeromedical. I went in behind the lines to pull out the wounded. Thank God, from what they said, the casualty rate was supposed to be at anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 a day. We didn't get a chance to see that carnage. Thank God. Because of the modern technology that came out, it saved a lot of men's lives. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a quick timeline. This timeline is going to put us through real quickly here. We didn't talk about World War I. That was the war that's supposed to win in all wars. The 11th month, the 11th day, the 11th hour. World War II, we saw discrimination ending. All the armed services were free from desegregation. Korea, the forgotten war. They called it a police action. Vietnam, the 10,000-day war. It was run by the government. The soldiers weren't appreciated. The Persian Gulf. When a rally behind the troops were there, the government left the generals to do what they needed to do, and the soldiers came home to a hero's welcome this time. Then we come to Iraq and Afghanistan, 9/11. We turned around and we went back over there again. But this time we're looking at a mini Vietnam. It hasn't changed. It's changing, but our people are still dying. So maybe with our new president, Barack Obama, a change is coming for our country. We'll have something to believe in once again. And I want to leave you with this quote by Chappie James, one of 3 of the generals out of Tuskegee. That doesn't mean that the future will be a rose garden or that there will be other obstacles to overcome. Freedom must be purchased by every new generation. Prepare yourself when your Tuskegee appear, you'll be ready. Thank you.
Thank you to the Tuskegee Airmen for your inspiring words. We anxiously await the opportunity to speak with you further in our dialogue sessions. At this time, we would like to take the opportunity to mention a few events happening this evening and tomorrow. We would like to remind everyone that Wes Berry from Wesley Berry Flowers is giving away 10,000 roses by the dozen between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. tomorrow. There is one catch, however. Wes Berry would like everyone who gets a dozen roses to keep one for themselves and give the other 11 away. This is an opportunity for people to express their support for equality and respect for their neighbors and friends who may be of a different race, religion, tradition, or lifestyle. Please stop by tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to take part in this community-wide project. We would also like to direct your attention to your program that includes information regarding a prayer breakfast at Covenant Baptist Church tomorrow, as well as information about Southfield's 24th Annual Peace Walk celebration. The United We Walk Committee sends a sincere thank you to everyone involved in making this day a success. We would like to encourage those interested in being a part of the 2010 Planning Committee to visit our website, www.unitedwewalk.org, for information on future planning meetings. At this time, the Tuskegee Airmen have another presentation.
He said I was a little brief. I was, because I know I was going to get to say a few more words. We would like to make a presentation to the West Bloomfield High School. We thank you all for inviting us here today. We hope you will take this picture and cherish it. And all 6 of the pilots' names on here are still alive. If you didn't know, the first Top Gun was won by Tuskegee Airmen. Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart also signed this picture. He was involved with the first Top Gun. Colonel Washington Ross, you just met him. Lieutenant Lorenzo Holloway, he was a 477 pilot. They had it split in 2 groups, fighters and bombers. The 477 was the bomber group. So on behalf of all of us, we would like to present to you all this picture.
Thank you very much. We graciously appreciate your gesture and we are proud to do this in our schools.
This concludes our auditory program. We encourage you to stay for refreshments in our breakout dialogue session with the Tuskegee Airmen. The elementary dialogue will take place directly across the hall in the forum, room 453. Middle school and high school students will dialogue in Laker Commons, and adults will dialogue in the Media Center. Please refer to your map and your program for these locations. The Candlelight Vigil will begin in the auditorium following the dialogues at 6:30 p.m. We hope you enjoyed today's program.
You did a nice job. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much.
I can invite everyone to move closer. We do it all the time in the synagogue and the congregation. You have to move closer. And just like in the synagogue, nobody pays attention. That's all right. Good evening. My name is Rabbi Norm Roman. I'm the rabbi at Temple Kolami here in West Bloomfield. It is my pleasure and my honor to once again be participating in this event, working with the committee and the school district, the West Bloomfield Clergy Association, especially on this, what will be the culminating as opposed to the introductory Candlelight Vigil that we have had over the years. We try to set a tone of hope, a tone of community, a tone of light and faith. We try to find within ourselves the warmth of being together and committing ourselves to working for the dreams of Dr. Martin Luther King and the dreams that all of us have for our communities. We know that we need that flame and the warmth of that faith because we will in a few moments go outside in the cold, and yet we know that we will be warm because we are together. In the Jewish community this week, we have read in the Torah, in the Bible, the story of Moses called by God to approach the Pharaoh, the powers that be, and say, let my people go in freedom. Let them have a sense of personal dignity. Let them no longer be slaves, but let them go free into the promised land. And God chose the symbol of a bush that was aflame and yet not consumed. The voice that called to Moses came from that fire, and it ignited within him the courage and the confidence, the ability even to overcome his own personal hesitation and stand up to power and stand in front of hundreds of thousands who would follow him. His initial reticence was overcome. And he recognized in that flame and in that fire that just as the bush, the plant, was not consumed, the fire within him of spirit and of faith, of hope and of dreams fulfilled, would not consume Moses either. So tonight we remember for Moses and for Martin and for all those whom our young people have chosen as symbols of leadership, of courage and commitment, of the symbols and the leaders of freedom in their world and ours. Tonight, as we have all day, we continue to dream and to walk and to work and to love and to live as one. We have traditionally begun our Candlelight Vigil with the words of the 133rd Psalm. We teach you a little bit of Hebrew for those who don't know, and then if you bear with me, there's a loose but very appropriate English translation of the Hebrew words. King David, it is said in the legend, wrote these words, Hinei ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. The Hebrew words you'll find, they're kind of boldened in blue and on page 11 of the program. Hinei ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. A translation, how good it is, how pleasant when brothers and sisters dwell together as one, but I'm going to share with you a more musical one as well. Hinei ma tov u'manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Behold, how good and how pleasant, united we walk and we live. Behold, how good and how pleasant, united we walk and we live. Hinei ma tov u'manaim, Sheverachim gam yachad, Hire ma tov u'manayim, Sheverachim gam yachad. If neither the Hebrew or the English work for you, just sing la la. Okay? That does. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Behold how good and how pleasant, united we walk and we live.
I'd like to invite at this time Reverend Timothy Holzerland for a bit of reflection.
I'll keep this brief, but Pastor Tim Holzerland from Shepherd King Lutheran in West Bloomfield. And I just want to share with you briefly, 14 years ago I moved to the Detroit area on the east side. And I attended an ecumenical gathering of clergy from around that area. I went and I introduced myself, and this is what I heard. What are you doing here? Now, sometimes you hear that within a particular group. But you know, I was really shocked, surprised. I was ready to dialogue. I was ready to embrace and to hold brothers and sisters close to me, and yet that's what I heard. When I moved and when I was here in Bloomfield in the church, when I went to that first ecumenical gathering of all the clergy and all the religious leaders, the community leaders, and even the school superintendents, there I was welcomed. We wanted to know about you. We wanted you to join. We wanted you to be a part of us. And for all of us in West Bloomfield, it's more than just a pat on the back for your community. It's something that you have to continue to maintain. A challenge for us to be welcoming, to be inclusive, and to have all people know that they're welcome. But you know, I want to tell you about that first particular meeting on the east side. It didn't stop me from coming to those meetings. So I went month after month, year after year. 10 years later, they decided to elect me as the president of that ecumenical association. So just because somebody will tell you, what are you doing here? Don't listen. Keep attending. Keep talking and keep listening. Trust me, you'll make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I'd like to reintroduce to you our student co-chairs, Ariel Flags, Taylor Gunn, and Alicia Lasenby.
Thank you very much. Each year, during the Candlelight Vigil, another world leader is inducted into the World Leader Wall of Fame. These individuals have all been recognized because of their leadership and cause for unity and peace. As each past recipient is recognized, a candle will be lit in their honor. Our first recipient, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States of America. Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall. Mahatma Gandhi. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Lyndon Baines Johnson, President of the United States of America. Mother Teresa.
Father William Cunningham, founder of Operation Hope Detroit. Jimmy Carter, President of the United States of America, along with Menachem Begum, Minister of Israel, and Anwar al-Sadat, President of Egypt. The 14th Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, President of South Africa, Representative Shirley Chisholm, Rosa Parks, Paul Rusesabagina, Coretta Scott King, and lastly, Oprah Winfrey. This year's recipient of the Wall of Fame genuinely reflects Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of living the dream. Raised in both Honolulu and Jakarta, his global upbringing has helped him appeal to people all over the world. His mother's great love for education encouraged him to attend Columbia University and Harvard Law School, where he was the first African American president of the Harvard Law Review. He worked as a community organizer, practiced as a civil rights attorney, and taught constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School. Tonight's recipient was elected to Congress as one of Chicago's senators, where he dedicated his time to making a difference in the world around him. It is with great pleasure that we announce tonight's Hall of Fame honor to be given to Barack Hussein Obama II. He is the first African American to be elected President of the United States, and his term of office as the 44th U.S. President is scheduled to begin on January 20th, 2009. He is truly living the dream, and his life will mark history forever.
In an effort to further involve West Bloomfield students in our United We Walk celebration, we invited middle school and high school students to compete in oratory contests. We are thrilled with sixth grader Evan Grossman Limpert to win the winner of Abbott Middle School, deliver his speech entitled United We Live. Please welcome Evan to the stage.
Okay, well, I find this life a very good life, but it wouldn't at all be as good if everyone was the same. Of course we know that everyone is different, but it can come with prices, such as the Holocaust or slavery. But let's not bother about that right now and venture into my story about how I know that we live united. I noticed it in 4th grade at my first ever Odyssey of the Mind tournament. I had lots of different types of kids on my team with me, but I didn't really bother about that until just now. Sheryl is Chinese, Abhinav's family is from India, Rodriana and Takaria are African American, and Jethrix is Filipino. I was the only Caucasian child in my group. That is, all according to Mom's research. My mom and Gerald's mom were our coaches. I know it's unique that we ended up being 6 kids from 5 different races, but it worked for us. The judges complimented us that we worked well as a team and that everyone had a valuable part in our presentation. In fact, they said that we had the best score for that part of scoring. We weren't friends before, and not really even afterward, but for the Odyssey of the Mind tournament and our time together practicing, we lived united and didn't even notice it as anything other than our team. It's weird, but I'm telling the truth about my experience, and it goes to show that that's how united we live. If you want to ask questions to me, you can find me right over there, first row.
Thank you, Evan. Please stand for the sing of Lift Every Voice and Sing, led by Laker Express.
Barbara Selden from Southfield's Task Force, I invite to the stage to invite us to their event tomorrow.
Excuse me. Thank you. Good evening. Hello. I was so encouraged by the young man who gave his little presentation, and I'm recalling how when I was in school, we were learning that when nothing bothers you in your body, then it's pretty healthy. When you start to beginning to feel things, then that's when you know you need to maybe see your physician because something is wrong. Well, this young man recognized that it wasn't about anything but the teamwork of that particular group that made the difference. And that was a really great thing. And I think that something that we can take into our lives as adults. Let us look past all of that other stuff and just work together for the common good. I think it's really great. I'm Barbara Selden. I'm president of the Dr. Martin Luther King Task Force Walk for Peace. And on behalf of the task force, I want to thank you for inviting me here today to participate in your awesome program, Walk, and your Vigil. I also would like to invite you to come out to our walk-in program, which is scheduled for tomorrow. We start at the Hope United Church right there on Northwestern Highway and Losser. We walk down the Civic Center Drive to the Southfield Municipal Complex in their pavilion, where we will have our program and then a taste fest. Our theme for this year is Remembering the Dream, celebrating diversity, and acting for the future. And this year we have a very special guest that we will be highlighting today. Excuse me. Some of you may never have heard of her. Her name is Viola Liuzzo. Some of you may have heard of her, but I'd like to let you know that she was the only white woman to give her life during the civil rights struggle of the 1960s. She was a 39-year-old mother of 5. She was from Detroit, Michigan. She left her family in March of 1965 to go to Alabama to support the Voting Rights Act struggle that was going on. She was gunned down by 3 members of the Ku Klux Klan and 1 FBI informant. She was transporting people from Selma to the Montgomery airport. When it was all over, they scorned her, they mocked her, they burned crosses in her yard, they threw food at her door, and the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, I believe it was, even said that she was a nigger lover and that she was down there having an affair with black men. So they really scorned and mocked her. Her children will be at our program tomorrow, and they're going to tell her story. Now, if you've never heard of her, that tells you how effective J. Edgar Hoover was. She certainly is someone that should be remembered and should be commemorated for. She gave her life for our struggle. She should be up there along with Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and all of the other leaders that have made a difference for peace and social justice. So hope to see you there. Thank you for letting me be a part of your program, and I look forward to a 2009 that's going to be great under the presidency of Barack Obama. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Now another invitation from Pastor John Good of Covenant Baptist Church.
Thank you, Dave. It has been said that the most segregated hour of the week, of any given week, is that hour of worship on Sunday morning. That is simply not true at Covenant Baptist Church, and we're excited about that. And it is a joy to give an invitation to you this evening for breakfast tomorrow at 9 o'clock and a program following at 10. We are going to focus on the spiritual life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the spirit of peace, joy, hope, and ultimately love that we believe empowered him to be the man that he was and the influence we share today. So let me give you that invitation and just say, I hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Now there's an unscheduled something. Sheryl? My co-chair, Sheryl Mitchell.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful celebration today. Do you agree? And one of the tenets of Dr. King is for each person in their own way to give back to their community. And we are so very blessed and fortunate to have so many people in West Bloomfield, in the greater West Bloomfield area, who give so much time and talent to making events like this possible. So I'd like to just briefly take a moment to say a special thank you. One of those who could not be with us this evening, I believe, I can't see in the lights, is the West Bloomfield Public Library. Brenda Pleska did a tremendous job in keeping the United We Walk website updated and current, and just having a pictorial celebration of Dr. King in our entire effort for this weekend. So let's give a hand to Brenda. Also, one of our main supporters of this entire event has been the West Bloomfield School District. Everyone has been such a vital asset to putting this program together. But there was one person who was there from day one who has worked endless hours, helped coordinate all the students, and was truly instrumental in making this day and this program very special. So I would like to ask West Bloomfield High School Vice President Jacqueline Lamek if you would come forward, please. On behalf of the United We Walk Planning Committee for 2009, I just want to say thank you so very much for all of your effort. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I have to say thanks to all of my colleagues that helped me. I couldn't have done it with all of you, so thank you.
And last but certainly not least, it is my great joy to celebrate one of the first chairs and co-chairs of United We Walk. She has been instrumental in not only moving the concept forward within our community, but each year being an active participant. And this year, as we celebrate our 15th anniversary, I cannot even tell you how much effort she has personally put into making sure that this was a success and supporting all of the co-chairs in moving forward and taking care of every possible detail that you could consider. Hertha Woodruff, would you please come forward? Hertha, thank you so very much.
Thank you
You
so
have just
much.
been awesome.
Thank you.
We'll help her downstairs. And thank you, everyone.
And now I'd like to invite Pastor Bill Matlack of Holy Spirit Lutheran Church.
There are instructions for lighting, and I'm going to give those first, and then I was given a benediction to give to you. While we're singing, and this is going to be led by Chelsea Helm. Is she here, ready? Okay, good. Are you coming up here? Well, come on up. Before I do the benediction, come on up. You'll get a candle at the door as you leave, and you're to form a circle out to shine the light. At the conclusion, you're asked to turn that off. They are not real flames, but battery operated, and return them to the baskets provided. We're going to sing We Shall Overcome, but before Chelsea leads us in that, I have a benediction about light and the dream, and let's stand to prepare for singing. Now may we go and work to keep the dream alive, to unite together in one community, where hopes are realized, promises of equal opportunity are kept, and the goal of peaceful understanding among all people is achieved. Be a light and shine for this cause.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. Overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. I do believe
stand we stand in a circle this evening with some great days in front of us. The occasion this week and today and tomorrow, what we have already celebrated and what we will celebrate, should bring hope to our hearts. But it reminds me of the day before Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered, when he said to a crowd gathered in Memphis, April 3rd, 1968, he said, "We still have work to do in front of us, but I'm not going to worry about that." He said, "Because I've been to the mountain. Like anybody, I'd like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not going to worry about that. I want to do God's will because I've been to the mountain. I've looked over it and I've seen the promise." And my charge to you this evening is to ask you if you can see the promise. Not only can you see it, but are you willing to take your role to make this promise a reality? May God bless you this evening and have a great day tomorrow. Amen. Amen.
WBTV continues with its programming special United We Walk 2009. Stay tuned as we continue with more of the celebration of United We Walk 2009 on WBTV. Please stay tuned to WBTV as we continue with our United We Live, United We Walk program on WBTV. This is WBTV West Bloomfield Schools Educational Access Channel, WBTV&U. Check out our great programming 24/7, every day starting at 5 o'clock. WBTV&U. Right here. Coming up next, more from the Martin Luther King United We Walk celebration and programs. This is WBTV, West Bloomfield Schools Educational Access Channel. WBTV continues with its presentation of United We Walk 2009, United We Live program on WBTV.
We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life.
हम साथ साथ चलते
Esperamos que haya paz por todo el mundo.
Ensemble, on marche.
سنمشي متحدين.
كلنا نعيش مع بعض، نعيش لنحقق الحلم، كلنا مع بعض نسير بسلام وسوية نقف.
The past several years, it has become clear that the technique of mass, nonviolent direct action has not only become the accepted method of the civil rights movement, but beyond that, the vast majority of all Americans now support and approve it. And involved in direct action, nuns and priests, rabbis, Protestant ministers, and laity of every race, social class, and age. Many observers have been surprised and even shocked by these methods.
అందరూ కలిసి నడవాలి.
안녕하세요. 모두 함께 걸어요.
꿈을 꾸세요.
Lev drömmen.
Who should be Islam walk in peace? Who should be Islam walk in peace? Who should be Islam walk in peace? And who should be Islam walk in peace? Who should be Islam walk in peace? Who should be Islam walk in peace? Who should be Islam walk in peace?平和に歩く Vivimos unidos.
Me seisomme yhdessä.
אנחנו ללכת לשלום. Esperamos que la gente del mundo vaya a parar la guerra, la lucha, el odio.
Wir gehen in Frieden.
Me svarg me hu. Caminamos unidos.
One day after finishing school, I was called to a little church down in Montgomery, Alabama. A year later, a lady by the name of Rosa Parks decided that she wasn't going to take it any longer. She stayed on a bus seat. You may not remember it because it's way back now, several years, but it was the beginning of a movement.
हम साथ रहते हैं.
Marchons dans la paix.
मिलके एक साथ चलेंगे. Camando todos vive.
Kore wa watashi tachi no sakei desu. Kore wa watashi tachi no inori desu. Sekai hewa.
Viviendo por el sueño. Ne mek yudin.
আমি স্বপ্নের জীবন বাস করছি.
can accept it. And so I'm not worried this afternoon, however dark it may be, however difficult it may be. I know that it is true, the truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yes, sir. That is another part of that great statement. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own.
Iraga Gerank.
Вместе мы стоим.
Nous espérons pour la liberté,
l'égalité,
la fraternité, l'unité et la loyauté dans tout le monde. Nous espérons.
Vivimos en paz.
Vivendo el sueño.
Queremos que la gente del mundo se encuentren la paz, el amor y la felicidad.
みんなで楽しく歩きましょう。
My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream.
Perfect. You guys are great.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Because I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time.
We know the key to unity of all people is in the dream that you had so long ago that lives in all of the hearts of people. Believe in unity. We'll make the dream become a reality. I know we will. Because our hearts tell us so.
My country tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of pilgrims cry. From every mountain side, let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must be.
So let us all begin. We know that love can win. Let out your holy